Hey everyone, welcome back to PintheQ Podcast. We are here at Ocean County Fire Academy, which is the EMS and Fire Training Center in Waretown, New Jersey. And I am here with Chief Raymond Marter.
Yes, sir.
Who's going to talk to us a little bit about the academy, a little bit about culture, which is something that's always on the forefront on my channel. And we're also going to talk about you, brother.
Okay.
'Cause that's what this show is about. It's about showcasing firefighters and what they bring to the table and what they've done, accomplished, that type of thing. So first and foremost, why don't you say hello to our guests?
Hello, everyone.
So that's exactly what I expected, and that's a great way to start the show.
Outstanding.
So we are here at the Fire Training Academy.
Yes, sir.
One, I'd like to thank you for inviting me.
Frank, you're so welcome, and thank you for taking the time outside with the recruits today. It was cool to watch.
It was fun. It was fun for us, too. And I brought my boy Ray, another Ray, not you, yes. Ray. I'm not talking to the third party. We brought my buddy Ray Tremer with us, who obviously was on episode 6. And he's been wanting to help out. So, Ray, thank you, brother, for coming aboard and helping out with this episode. Yes. So, Ray and I got an opportunity to go outside and talk to some of the recruits. Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you, I'm pretty impressed. These kids, they impressed me. And it was funny, off camera, Ray and I were speaking, the other Ray, and we both had said, wow, they're pretty good for 4 months in, and they seem like they're getting it.
All the classes do tend to get it at some point.
Yeah.
But I think they were on their best behavior today.
Well, that might be too. Whenever there's a camera.
For a couple different levels. There's cameras. They know they're getting graded for their practical skills, part of them anyway today. So. And
that's another thing I should mention is that today was a test day for them, so they are being tested. But what I did notice about them is they seem to be meshing well together. It seems like they have that bond.
They do.
And
they do.
That I did notice. And that you can't fake.
I agree with that, and I think that's twofold. A, they've spent so much time together so far,
right.
And that certainly pulls them together. In the second class that they have in our academy is a Saturday, and we do a team building day with them that I don't think anybody else is doing. But we do some team building skills, so they walk in as 25 or 30 students that don't know each other from different fire companies.
Right.
And it's kind of like an icebreaker kind of thing. One of the instructors came up with the idea, and it's worked well. I watched the classes mold together a whole lot quicker than they ever did before. So that's nice.
You contributed to that?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's good.
Absolutely. In fact, the first class we did it was about halfway through. And when at the end of the class, we usually ask the instructor or the students what they liked, what they didn't like, that kind of stuff, things that we could improve. And that group came back to us and said the team building was one of the most important ones they did, but they thought it should be early on in the program.
Oh, good.
So we listened to that, and we made it the second class.
You're a little progressive when you're listening to the recruits and what they have to say, and you're actually building into the program. That says a lot,
Yeah, I think we need to, obviously. Yeah. They're most of them are a lot younger than I am. In fact, all of them are a lot younger than I am. And we probably learn different than they do.
Right.
So we need to take some of their things.
And
sometimes looking at it with a fresh eye is a good thing, brother.
Especially when especially when you have some time on. Speaking of which, Ray has 36 years in the fire service, so that's a lot of time, and that's a lot of dedication, and that's a lot of devotion. And I think that gets lost sometimes in translation when people think about the fire service and, they got 25 years, I got 10 years. All those years are dedication, and you're driven, and obviously you keep doing it, so you're driven.
There's no question. The fire service is my love. There's no question in my mind there.
That's great.
I am truly blessed to be able to do what I do on a daily basis. I really am.
Well, like I start every episode, this is episode 19. I'd like to start by asking you, Ray, how did you get involved in firefighting?
I grew up in the firehouse. My dad was a member of Eastover. I think he was a life member of Colt Sneck.
Okay.
Long before I was born and thought about. But I grew up in Eastover's firehouse, and when I became 14, I joined Tom's River No. 1, had an Explorer program at the time.
Oh, good.
And my dad got me involved in that, and I've been hooked since then. At 18, I joined Company 2 in Tom's River, and then I was lucky enough to get hired in Jackson Township. Actually, before that, I worked for the VA in Somerville for about 6 months.
Right.
And then Jackson offered me a spot, and I went there. Took some classes on fire investigations, decided that investigations was something I wanted to get involved in. Opening came up in the fire marshal's office. I applied, and I was lucky enough to get chosen.
And you've been here ever since?
Yeah, in 1989, I started with the fire marshal's office.
Yeah, so you got some time invested in here.
Starting my 30th year, August this year.
And you're currently the director at the academy here?
We don't use the title director, but yeah, I'm the guy in charge of all the fire training. The title is fire marshal / fire training coordinator.
Okay, so you're a fire coordinator here at the academy.
Training coordinator.
Training coordinator. Okay, good. So take me back a minute. We're going to go back to memory lane in a minute.
Absolutely.
You talked about being a fire explorer, a junior member, right?
Yes, sir.
What was that like then? Because I know what it was like when I started, 88.
Yeah.
And it's light years different now. So
yeah, it was good times for me. I mean, growing up in the firehouse, watching my dad get on the truck and go out the door, it lit that fire in me that's what I wanted to do.
Absolutely.
And when I was able to put a set of turnout gear on and actually go to drills and do some stuff, that
great
definitely,
feeling, right?
Oh, it's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah. I remember when I first started in Beechwood, same thing, man. The first time you put that turnout coat on, you actually felt like important. You know, you felt like you made it.
You know what, Frank? Truth be told, I still get that feeling when I get to put turnout gear on.
So do I, and you
get
should.
On the truck, man. I just love doing that, and I know my days are numbered. You know, I mean, let's face it, I'm not going to be able to do it forever.
Right.
So I almost think I appreciate it more right now because I know I'm not going to be doing this 20 years from now.
So you got here at the fire academy. So while you were at the fire marshal office, you're still obviously volunteering, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So you stayed active with that throughout.
Yeah, different departments. I moved from Toms River to Stafford, and I was a member of Stafford for a while. Made it up to captain in Stafford.
Okay.
And I'm a member of Barnegat right now.
Okay. So being in different organizations, what would you say was your most challenging role in all of those positions you've held thus far?
My first year as lieutenant in Toms River was tough for me. I was lucky enough to make lieutenant the first year I was eligible.
Okay.
In retrospect, I wish I hadn't run for office when I did.
Everyone says that.
I thought I was ready.
Right.
I like to hope that Chief Novak and a couple of the other guys that I was behind, I think they thought I did a good job. I wish I had taken a couple more years because I certainly could have done a much better job now. You know.
But I think we all feel that, you know, when we first start out, you never, you know, looking back, you're always thinking, oh, I could have did this better or that better. But at the time, you're just kind of doing what you think you're doing.
Yeah,
you know?
It's amazing. As we get older and get a little mature, we learn that we didn't know as much as we thought we knew when we were younger, right, brother?
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
I was kind of a cocky younger guy. I like to think I had some skills and I was a decent firefighter. I think I could have probably been a better officer in the beginning. I really do. Well,
being able to say that means something because some people can't, you know, swallow their pride and admit those things. So it's good that you are saying that. Back when you were an officer, lieutenant, tell me what that was like for trying to motivate and lead other firefighters at a young age.
In the volunteer service, well, I don't know that it's any different in a career firehouse. I mean, I've worked in career firehouses. Being a young lieutenant, you get buy-in from the guys your age. When you're trying to talk to and give orders and get buy-in from the guys that have been there 25 or 30 years, me now,
right.
That was difficult. Some of those guys appreciated you, and as you well know, some of them are really tough on you.
Yeah,
you know, that was difficult for me with the different generations there. That was tough.
And I'm sure you're going to tell me your favorite position was captain because that's what everyone tells me.
Absolutely.
You know, literally, everyone I ask says the same thing. Captain was the best position.
Absolutely. You get to get inside. You get to work. You're not the lowest level.
Right.
You're still riding the truck every day with the guys. Those were good days, man.
Yeah, being captain.
The couple times I've been captain, they were good times. I made it up to assistant chief in Toms River. So I went through captain there, and then in Stafford, I was captain for a couple years. Those were probably the best years.
What was your busiest house?
Toms River was the busiest.
That was Company 1 or Company 2?
Company 2. I was in Company 2. When I left there, I think we were running about 700 or 750 calls a year.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. So Stafford was kind of relaxing for me when I moved down there.
Yeah, it's not anymore.
While it was busy, it was a little bit of a back step for me where I got to be home a couple nights here and there.
Right. Because it's a tremendous obligation, if you will.
Question.
I mean, there's a lot of, it's a commitment.
No question.
It's a commitment. You know, when you join the fire service, is that something you tell these recruits?
Yeah, when it comes up. I mean, we talk to them the first night is our orientation night where we have to fill out all the state paperwork and all that kind of stuff and tell them what to expect throughout the program.
Correct.
But yeah, we talk to them about how your family joined the fire company, not just you. We definitely talk to them at graduation on that. I almost always try and thank the relatives that are here to watch them graduate. To thank them for giving us their family members for the 6 months or so. That
they're a big part of it.
Oh, without the family support, you're not going to be able to do what we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not in the volunteer side of things.
So bring it back to the fire academy. So
Sure.
Or I'm sorry, the fire marshal's office. Excuse me. When you get into the fire marshal's office, you said the investigative part kind of intrigued you.
That's the reason I wanted to become a fire marshal, was to do fire investigations. Little did I know that most of my time was going to be spent doing inspections.
Yeah, well, you know, that happens.
Absolutely,
that's
part of it. And I enjoyed that as well.
So tell me what the fire marshals was like when you first joined, when you first got hired, rather. What was it like for you?
It was different for me because while I had gone through the class and gotten my inspector certification, I had never done an inspection. And Mulligan was actually really cool to pick me up with zero experience. He saw something, I guess,
that's good.
that he liked. I'm guessing. I don't know. I've never talked to Dan about that. It was good times, man. Learning to do inspections, getting out there, and doing investigations, which was really what I wanted to do.
Right.
Those were good days.
What was it like working with Biggs when you first got there?
You know what? I have a good story for you there, and I'll make it really quick for you. But the first fire investigation that I remember doing was on Route 9 in Lacey Township. It was a little food establishment. I think it was called the Hungry Hot Dog. And Bigger had been out the night before, it burned overnight, and he called me in the morning to have me come out and help him. And I walked in with him and John Mount, who was chief in Tom's River, number one.
Another great guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, top notch.
John is great people as well. But I walked into this place, and John and Bigger both walk into the building, and I walk in behind them, and the two of them kind of look around the building, and they go, "Oh, start it right over there in the corner." It's like, how did you come up with that? Like, everything's pitch black in here. How did you come up with that? And then, you know, fast forward 6-8 months later, I was out doing a job, and Bigger came in, and he asked me what I thought. And I was like, I think it's right over here. And kind of gave me the wink and a nod. So, yeah, those were good days, brother.
There's something about Biggs, man. He just has that way to make you feel like $1 million when you're around him.
Yeah. When you spend time with Bigger, he just comes across. He's genuine 100% of the time. There's no question. He's genuine.
Yeah. No, he's good.
Listen, I have one son, and Bigger is my one son's godfather. So you know what I think of Ed Hazelton.
That's great.
He's just a great man all the way around. He's a great family man. He's a good firefighter. He was a good chief.
Huge heart.
Absolutely.
Huge heart.
Absolutely. I don't always see eye to eye with him, but I have the utmost respect for Ed Hazelton.
And you know what? We're not always going to see eye to eye. I mean, that's anybody.
Part of it.
Listen, anybody who knows firefighting and what this dysfunctional family is really all about.
That's a fact.
We do run into those occasions when we have to butt heads a little bit. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we're here for each other.
Absolutely.
I really believe that, and I see it. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
So the investigative part was cool, and then when the inspections, that's kind of like the bag, right?
Uh-huh.
So how is it different now than when you first started at the fire marshal's office? Is it different?
Obviously, all the towns have changed that they do inspections in. For me, it's a totally different animal.
Okay.
I'm assigned here to the fire academy full time, so I don't get out to do inspections ever.
Right.
Every once in a while, I can help them out with permits. I end up still doing fireworks.
But this is a big deal though. This is a lot going on here.
Yeah, it's a full-time gig.
Yeah,
There's no question about it. I mean, we have some downtime. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's a full-time job here.
So fast forward, you get put here at the academy. Mm-hmm. Was this something you requested or something you got assigned?
I got assigned.
Okay.
2002, I got put here.
What was your original reaction coming here?
it was an uncomfortable time when I got put here. The person that was here ahead of me got taken out, and I got put in.
Gotcha.
And while I did some training, I taught in the academy classes prior to that. I had some shoes to fill of other people that held the position prior to me.
Gotcha.
And originally it was supposed to be like a 6-month kind of thing. And then we evaluate it and see where we went from there. And at 6 months we did that. And Dan and Jerry Holman, who was the facility director at the time, asked me if I was willing to stay and do another 6 months, and we review it again. And I don't think we've ever had that review yet. So,
Are you glad you did it? Looking back,
absolutely. Yeah, this is a great place to be. As a fireman, we can go out and light a fire whenever we want to fight fire. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I've grown to love the position. I truly do. And it's weird hours, and you're working nights and weekends and all that stuff. But it is cool to touch the younger generation and sit there and I mean, you saw the recruits outside, man. That's what keeps me going.
And that's what I'm getting at. So you come here, you're put in this position, and now you're going to help cultivate and motivate and train these new firefighters coming through this door.
Scary, right?
Tell me what it's like. Tell me what it's like when you're the man here, right? And you got these young kids coming in, wide-eyed, have no clue.
Yeah.
Right, and they're sitting in those chairs. Explain to our viewers, because we do have some people watching our firefighters.
Sure, absolutely.
Explain to them how important that responsibility is for these instructors here at the Fire Academy, and for you to get across to these young firefighters. How important is that?
It's extremely important. You got to understand the amount of time that they need to put in. It's probably close to 250 or so hours in our recruit class. That's
a lot.
Yeah, I mean, try and take the time out of your day to be able to do that.
Right.
Our class runs 2 nights a week and almost every Saturday. So for 6 months, they're giving up 2 nights a week every Saturday, pretty much, to be here. So I try and be a mentor to the students. I try not to be super friendly with them, not because I don't like them, but they need to find their own way.
Yeah, there has to be some type of discipline. There has to be.
Yeah.
A regimen, a discipline, there has to be.
I believe that.
Especially on the fire ground, If you can't handle the academy aspect of what's going on in a controlled environment.
Yeah, you're not going to make it on the grounds.
Right.
No, I agree with that.
And other brothers and sisters, their lives depend on that.
Absolutely.
So what do you do when you're in that position and the instructors are trying to work with someone and it's just not clicking? What do you do? What's the challenge?
The instructors will normally, they'll come to me and say, hey, listen, we're having a problem with this student perhaps, or just not getting it, kind of thing. If it comes to that, then I usually sit them down and try and have a word with them. Not really have I ever really tossed anybody out. Almost all of our people, they figure it out on their own and drop.
Right, and they just bail out.
For various reasons. Work schedule doesn't work for them. I've had a couple people that have not successfully made the program and come back in the next class or the class after, and something changed in them during that time, and we've watched some of them rock it out, which is pretty cool to see too.
What's the rewarding part about being an instructor at the Fire Academy for you, for Ray?
For me, because I've been here as long as I have, I now have several people that went through my recruit class as recruits that have just become fire chiefs. And that's one of those things that just blew me away. When I saw the first guy get sworn in as chief of his department that I taught him in Fire 1.
Yeah, that's exciting.
That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and a couple of them are instructors here now,
right?
Which is even cooler.
That's good.
It is a cool thing when you watch them come up through the ranks, when you see them become lieutenants and captains, but the couple that have made chief, to me, that's an accomplishment.
Yeah, it's like a feather in your cap. You were part of that.
Absolutely.
You can sit back and say, hey, I was part of that, and
a small part of it, but a part of it nonetheless. Yeah.
But a part of it, right? Yeah, I agree. And one of the things you're doing here at the Academy, which I definitely want you to talk about, is explain to our viewers what you're doing with the line of duty deaths with firefighters here at the Academy.
All right. We do a line of duty death project with the students. It's something I picked up from an instructor from, I think it was Hanover, Virginia, when I went to FDIC one year. And for several years, we'd break the class up geographically, so they had to do it outside of the class hours. And we'd give them a firefighter's name, the date of their death, the fire department they belong to, and we made the students go out with very simple rules. They weren't allowed to contact the fire department that the firefighter came from.
Okay.
They were not able to contact anybody from the family because we don't want to open up any wounds.
Sure.
Both of the families, both at the firehouse and at home.
Okay.
We researched all those firefighters to make sure there was information out there. And then the students were required to come back as a group and present to the instructors and the other students 10 to 15-minute presentation on the firefighter, how they died, and perhaps things that we could do to prevent that type of fatality from happening again. And we made sure that at least one of them was a heart attack.
Okay.
One of them was struck by a vehicle. Some of them inside burning buildings. It's a very cool thing. It also ties in and it gives them one more thing that wasn't intended for me. But we watch the students have a little bit of a different attitude towards the instructors once they have to stand up and talk in front of 30 or 40 people.
It's not easy.
It's not an easy task.
It's not easy.
It becomes easier the more you do it.
Sure.
But yeah, when they say, "Well, it wasn't easy," like I thought this was going to be a piece of cake.
Did you ever have any of the recruits do that and then see an emotional side of that of their research?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You watch a couple of them; they just have a totally different attitude. Like, I didn't know this could happen, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let's face it, for sometimes really bad things happen to really good people.
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes you can be doing everything right, and it just that's what happens. You know.
I guess it was meant to be that day, sadly.
Yeah. Certainly.
But I'm a firm believer. Like, I'm a guy that reads line of duty deaths on a regular basis. When they're released, I make sure I read them. I don't think that firefighter should ever die in vain. If we can pick something up out of that and prevent that type of a fatality in the future, that's important to me. So the recruits kind of got that when they started doing it. It was really pretty impressive to watch it.
How important is it for these recruits to understand the commitment that it's going to take to graduate this academy? I mean, is that something you have to like really emphasize to them, or did they figure that out? I don't know.
We talk about it on the first night or two. They pick up pretty quickly that it's a huge commitment that you're making to go through this many hours and to go out and do the hands-on what they're doing outside.
Historically speaking, when are you losing the most recruits? When are they washing out?
Usually within about the first month.
First month?
Yeah. It may go a little longer, but usually about the first month. We drop, if we start with 30, 35 students, historically you're probably not going to graduate that whole group. You're gonna lose 5 to 7.
All right, I'm gonna throw a tough question at you, right? I'm gonna throw one at you.
I'm ready, brother.
All right. So, I like to keep this real, right? So, how challenging it? Maybe it isn't a challenge. I don't know, but is it challenging now with the new generation firefighters? Because look, I'm looking at Ray. I'm looking at you. When we started doing this, when you were told to do something,
you did it.
You just did it. There was no question. You just did it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Ray's father was on the job FDNY. I can guarantee when they told him to do something, he just did it. So he's nodding. So today it's a little different.
Yes, it is.
So how is it that guys like us, how do we adjust to accommodate the new firefighter?
That's a good question.
Right, because
I don't know. I always just kind of sit back and I try and put myself in their shoes. I try to remember what it was like when I went through Fire One. I get frustrated some days when they're not the guys that want to volunteer to do things first, that they're happy to be 70, 80% as opposed to 100%.
Man, you just hit the nail on the head. What's the passing grade?
You need a 70 on the state exam to pass.
So
when you put it in perspective, that means out of 100 times in a life and death situation, you can be wrong 30. That's how I look at it. And that's how I try and motivate the students, that I tell them that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to crawl down with the hallway with the guy that got the 70. I'll take that 95 every time.
Are you starting to see that more of the recruits now coming in are okay with that 75, 80, or are you seeing a trend? Is it switch? Is the pendulum changing or what?
You get some classes where they absolutely everybody in the class or damn close to it gets it. You have other classes where 75 is good. You know, to me, that's frustrating.
It is
frustrating. And we do
yeah.
our best as instructors to try and motivate them and get buy-in from them that, you know, when you really look at it in that perspective, like, I don't want to crawl down the hallway with the 70 guy.
Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not.
I think it's the perspective that you put it in for them to realize it. Usually by the time they graduate, most of them get it.
Good.
Some people are going to be members. Other people are going to be firefighters.
That's a really good way to put it, man, because you're absolutely right. You can, you know, in some places maybe you can skate by.
Yeah.
You could just be a number and skate by and do the minimums.
Yeah.
But the guy and girl that's doing the minimums, I don't want them near me. I mean, you know, listen, I want the one that comes in. Maybe they're not the best firefighter, but if they're giving you 110% of what they have, and maybe they're not great,
and taking constructive criticism and correcting their mistakes.
Yeah, that's the guy I want to crawl.
That's the person we can mold.
Yeah, that's the person I want. You know, and I'll tell you this. What I liked is not only what I saw today.
Okay.
With the and look, I get it. You know, there's cameras in their face, so you're not going to do exactly everything you normally do. I get all that, but I've been here on other training when I had no camera and I was just here, just part of the training, and I didn't really see any waver in the instructors. I saw the same type of instruction that I saw when I wasn't here in this capacity.
I agree.
I'm really impressed with the academy staff. I mean, whatever the academy's doing to mold the type of instructors you're having, it's working because I see it. I see it out there. They're engaged.
Yeah.
They're passionate about what they're doing. You don't see a lot of frustration. You see a lot of motivating.
Yeah.
I saw that today, and Ray and I were talking about that too. They're like kind of with them, you know, like right in their face going, all right, listen, slow down. Yeah. Think about what you're doing. And it's not like, well, hey, you're an idiot. You know, you're a moron. You're not seeing that. You're seeing more. And I know that happens at times, but
on occasion.
But I'm seeing that, that wanting to make sure that they know what you're trying to teach them. You know what I mean? And this is 4 months in. Yeah. So.
Yeah. You know what?
That says something.
I'll just take a minute and talk about my instructors, if you don't mind.
Of course.
You know, we're kind of, I guess, like a combination department. I'm here full time. This is my career. I have 10, started with 12, but we got to replace 2 guys who had to move on. 10, 12 part-time guys, part-time fire marshals that are here predominantly to do training. Okay. And then we still have guys that come out and volunteer, and you met a couple of them out there today. Mm-hmm. It's not anything that I'm doing, clearly. We just are lucky to get guys that have a love for the fire service. I think most of us look at other instructors and try and pick what we thought was good things that they did. I'm not one that yells a whole lot on the fire ground. I don't believe in it. I think when I raise my voice, I ought to get attention. So talking to them and trying to be nicer to them, not that we're trying to be that kinder, gentler fire academy by any means.
You need that discipline.
But they have to have discipline, but I don't have to treat you badly to get you to do what I want. Exactly, yeah. And I'm absolutely blessed with the staff that I have, both the guys that get paid and the guys that are volunteer. They get buy-in across the board. They're people that can motivate the students. Different people bring different things to the table. But I wouldn't change the bodies that I have one bit. I have some great friends that are teachers here, some great firefighters that teach here, and they all just come across with the right attitude.
They do.
At least I think they do. And I think we get buy-in across the board because, listen, while I'm the guy that's here full-time and I guess technically the guy in charge, I don't look at myself as that guy. I'm an instructor just like they are. And we let them take the leads on some programs or some days. Yeah. And I do what they tell me to do. And it seems to be working for us.
When I walk around out there and I see guys like Kenny Balfrey. Yep. Jay Sonnefeld. Yes. I mean, these and not to say the other ones aren't great too. Everyone I saw, honestly,
every
I could
one
tell
of them
you.
are good people.
And you know I would tell you.
I know you would. I respect it.
I got to tell you, they're good. And but those guys, when you got guys like that, You know, I watch Kenny sitting over here going over these packs with these kids.
Yeah.
And he's like, stop. Right? Now, this was 4 months. He could be like, yeah, that's good. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
He could just get through the day, no problem.
Absolutely.
But he's taking the time at every single recruit, and I was watching, you know, and there's no waiver.
Trying to jog their memory so they come up with the right answer.
Right.
We're never going to give them the right answer, but
Right.
they got to figure it out.
You know, and I seen him put a little bit of stress on him. You know what I mean? And that's good. You need to have that. And then I watch Jay out there. I mean, Ray couldn't have said it any better, man. Salt of the earth.
Yep.
Jay Sonfeld.
Jay's one of my best friends in the world.
Oh, my God.
He really is. Kenny, too. All of those guys are good friends.
They get it.
They do.
These guys are getting it. And, you know, you're fortunate to have these kind of guys here at this academy. And, you know, these recruits don't even realize it now, but they will.
They will.
Down the road, they're going to realize that they have that type of leadership and that type of...
I got to tell you, it's a little scary to me to think that we are the, you know, the Gus Fortes and Spike Barons from when I went through Fire One.
Yeah. I listened to John Novak, Chief Novak, say the same thing to me. It's like, and that's what he said. He goes, those guys were, you know...
Yeah.
And now we're here.
Gus Forte was my biggest mentor in the fire department when I joined Tom's River. I was a young kid. Gus took me under his wing and pointed me in the right direction. Spike Barron, who's passed on, as well as Gus. Just some really good people that I hopefully learned good habits from. I like to hope I have.
Well, actually, it led me to one of my questions. When that was your mentor then, Gus? Would you say it was your mentor in the fire service?
My biggest mentor in the fire service? Yeah, behind my dad, Gus Forte. Yeah, Gus Forte. We heard all of his bad jokes probably 200-300 times over. We could rattle them off for you.
Yeah.
But Gus, you know, he was district chief for a long time. He was a company chief. He was a career chief out at Navy Lakehurst Fire Department. He commanded your respect, but he earned your respect as easily. So,
That's good.
Gus was definitely, him and Spike Barron are probably the two biggest guys in the fire service that moved me forward.
That's good.
Mike Davenport.
Oh, Mikey, man.
Mike Davenport, yeah. On a different level, but Michael Davenport, yeah.
Tell me about Mike.
I was heartbroken when Mike passed. Mike was just, well, you knew Mike. Mike was just Mike. He was a friend. He was a hard worker. He had a love for the emergency services that if I didn't have the love for it, meeting Mike, you'd get it. Yeah. You know?
It was contagious with Mike.
It was absolutely contagious.
Yeah.
And I've had some, you know, going to meetings and taking rides in the car with Mike was just as adventurous as pulling a hose down a hallway with Mike.
Yeah, Brian Gabriel told a funny story, man, about the heated seats.
Turning the heat on in the seats. Mike thought he was getting the flu.
Yeah, but that's, you know, that's the good stuff, man. Those are the fun stories, you know. And
Absolutely.
When Mike passed, I mean, like I mentioned, I wasn't close with Mike. I knew him. I respected him.
Yeah.
I've seen him in action. So I always had a respect for him. But I wasn't fortunate enough, like you guys, that actually knew him and would be able to be part of his life, you know.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's tough to see those guys go.
There's a couple that have hurt. Mike was one of them.
Yeah.
Mike was one of them.
Who else comes to mind for you?
Gus Forte and Spike Barron, those two guys I mentioned.
Right. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough when you lose guys, man.
It's difficult, Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. But you know what? If you continue to do the right thing and you're doing the right thing for these recruits, it's almost like you're giving Gus back. You're giving something back to Gus and Spike.
Part of those guys live on with us.
Yeah.
So I like to hope that we're
including the bad jokes.
Oh, yeah, I still tell a bad joke every now and again. Truth be told.
So again, for some of these viewers that aren't firefighters, tell us how it's different when you have a recruit class and then you have an in-service class. When you have to teach, how different is that?
It's a different mindset when you walk in.
Sure.
The recruits is constantly trying to motivate them and get them to understand that this is where we need to be,
right? And
that there's building blocks throughout the program. And you gotta kind of turn it around a little bit when you're bringing guys in to do a search and rescue class or whatever, an elevator rescue class or 100 classes that we teach. You gotta change the switch a little bit. That these guys are already here, they've already made it through.
Right.
Most of them are motivated enough that they're coming back, which is a win for us. It takes a little bit of a change to move on.
What do you do with that one guy or girl that comes in, and they're just not? They're there physically, but they're not there mentally, and they're there for an in-service class. I mean, because they're not recruits, right? They're firefighters. So what is it that you think you can do or say to them?
Listen,
if you had the opportunity.
As instructors, you try and get their attention, and if it's like a classroom class, I may direct some attention to you. Every time you look up, I'm going to be making eye contact with you. Hopefully they get a little more buy-in for you.
Right.
Ask a couple questions to get them to pull in. On the hands-on stuff, if they're going to work, they're going to work.
Yeah.
You know, and if not, then time to go home.
And one of the really important and exciting things for me to hear, when we spoke off camera before, you told me about Dennis Allen.
Yes.
He's got a class he's doing now for you guys at the Fire Academy. Let's talk about that a little bit. Tell our guests what that's about.
Dennis put together a class for emergency responders, more firefighters, because that's what we do is the fire service. But it's meant for everybody, police, fire, and EMS, on firefighter suicide.
Yeah.
And Dennis put together what I thought was one of the best classes that I've taken. Really moving, and Ray brought it up, in his podcast. Dennis saw that. Dennis was already working on the program, as you know. That motivated Dennis to finish it up rapidly and get it out there. He's offered it 3 times so far in a couple months.
Tell me your experience in sitting through that class.
It was mind-blowing. I mean, I had a background in it. I kind of understood it. And I don't want to give anything away.
No.
When you take the class, take the class.
Yeah, take the class, yeah.
But Dennis will hook you, I promise. He will hook you. He has some good references on things that we can do. How we as our brothers and sisters relate to each other,
right,
and try and motivate people. It was probably one of the best classes, quite honestly, that I've taken in a long time. And
you've been doing this 36 years.
Yeah.
So that says something, right? There was one side of you that says, listen, I don't want to get into the whole thing, but you don't think that as an academy, teaching a suicide prevention class is we want to pull hose and do things. But obviously that's extremely important. Oh, yeah.
If there's anything I've learned being here, is that just because it isn't my idea doesn't mean it's not a good idea. So when the guys come to me with an idea for a class, I learned to give it a shot. I will tell you that the team building class we talked about, Mike King was the guy that started that for us.
Okay.
Mike teaches for the court systems. And he came to me a couple times saying, I really think we could do this team building thing. I really think it's Fortune 500 stuff. Man.
Yeah.
We're firefighters.
That's like someone falling from a log and then someone has to catch them.
Yeah, exactly. And Mike kept, to his credit, Mike kept coming to me with it. Right. And finally, and I've told Mike this, so this isn't a surprise. I finally said, all right, let's just give it a shot. You'll realize it's not going to work.
Right.
We're done.
Right.
It turned out to be a great program. Learning experience for me.
But had you not at least given it a shot,
we wouldn't have known.
You wouldn't know.
So
at least you're doing that.
I'm a believer in that now. We'll give it a shot. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, we tried. We'll move on to another subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the academy that does the graduation time, right? It's graduation time. How powerful is it for you to sit back and see these kids that came through that door all wide-eyed, not knowing what to expect, and now they're graduating?
I think that's one of the things that keeps us as instructors motivated, that we watch them walk in the first day, the majority of them not knowing anything about the fire service.
Right, because not everybody comes from firefighter family. I mean, I talked to some of the recruits that this is their first generation.
It's their first shot, yeah. So they have a want to do it, but they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you watch them when they graduate, and we do a little pre-graduation thing where we don't teach them how to march or anything, but we make sure that they're all sitting with their hands on their knees and stuff, so they're not grabbing their crotch. And it's really cool when you have parents come up to you and go, "How did you get them to do that?" Because I couldn't get them to clean their room.
Yeah.
You know, so those are good feelings.
I know all about that.
Yeah, right.
Ugh.
Those are good things. Those are the things that I think keep us as instructors motivated. When you watch them over a 6-month time go from not knowing anything and not getting our stuff, to getting it. That's a motivational thing for us.
Right.
It is for me.
That's cool, man, and that's like I said, that's the fun part about seeing what they've accomplished.
Yeah.
And now they're graduating, right? They're walking out here with a certificate.
Many certificates, but yes.
Have you had any of them come back to you later afterwards, after they've been on a call or if they've been on an incident, and reflect on it to you?
Yeah. Some of them, when I'm on the job, you get out there and they'll come over and talk to you and tell you cool things.
Right.
I've had a handful of students take the time. Rob Luft, he was assistant chief in Surf City, and he's a career guy in Cherry Hill now. About the 4 or 5 year mark, Rob Luft wrote me this handwritten letter, telling me what a great experience it was at the academy, and then went on to kind of blow my head up, telling me that he's in college now and blah blah blah, and I was probably one of the best instructors he ever had, and I don't know.
That letter.
I don't know that that's factual, but it meant something to me.
Well, he took the time to write the letter.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. And I've had that happen a couple times, so that's a pretty cool thing. You know, when they take the time to come to you and talk to you, that keeps you motivated as well. So
is that what keeps you coming here? Is that what keeps you saying, "Nah, I'm not gonna hit the button yet. I'm not ready to go"? Yeah, I'm not ready to go yet. I still look back at my dad. My dad was, while he was a fireman, he had a couple different careers, and the last, he was a groundskeeper for Toms River Schools for 25 years or so. And when my dad got out of bed in the morning, he wasn't motivated to go to work. He went to work because he needed to make the money to raise us. There is very few days that I get out of bed and I have that attitude, and that's a blessing in itself. So that's how you know it's not time to go. It's not time to go yet. Yeah. No, I still have a couple things I want to accomplish. I mean, I know that's coming, but it's not right now. It's not right now. What do you see here for the academy? What do you see as a future here? What would you like to see? If you had a chance to continue to move forward, or I have some really super motivated instructors that work with me, and they're coming up with new ideas all the time. And to me, that is huge. Right. That is huge. Like when we got the 12 part-time guys, they have a little bit of a different buy-in than some of the, and clearly not all of but some of the volunteer instructors. And they've kind of rejuvenated me, honestly. I really think that those guys have made me step up my game a little bit. At least I hope they have. That's good. Yeah, it's a good gig. Well, everybody kind of works together to get that accomplished. I mean, it's and then it's a good team. The whole fire marshal's office is a good team. You guys are pretty tight knit. Yeah. Yeah, I still get to go out and do investigations. I was just on duty last week. I was the backup guy. I'm not running really lead investigator, but 4, 6, 8 times a year I get to cover backup. So I got 4 or 5 jobs under my belt this past week, and I still do some permits and stuff with the office. So that keeps you active. Yeah, keeps you active. Yeah, and much like the instructors, everybody that works for our office brings a different tool to the tool bag. Right. And I think you said it before. We're a dysfunctional family. Oh yeah, but we are family. We're dysfunctional. Yeah. There's no question about that. I have to ask you, because obviously you know what my platform's about, my show's about. Uh-huh. Any difficult calls for you, and reflecting back, how'd you feel you processed those calls? There's several calls throughout my career that have probably bothered me a little bit more than others. We had a job in Toms River where we pulled a guy out and did CPR on him for a while, and he passed. That bothered me for a little bit. A couple motor vehicle accidents where we were there talking to the person, and then you watch them go. Right. And I don't want to mention what incidents those were, but those were kind of tough on me. And a couple other things throughout my career, but. And looking back at those incidents, did you? Mm-hmm. Was there like round table discussions at the firehouse, or was it more like you got to deal with it? Frank, I'm the guy that when we come back from the call, I call it tailboard talks, where I'm never the guy that hangs up my gear and walks out the door. I like to sit and bullshit. Sorry. No, you can say guys have said much worse. To me, I think that's what works is talking to other firefighters and just kind of getting it out there. Simple round table discussions. Yeah, for me that works. For getting back on the engine the next day works. Right. Doing what I love to do, that's always worked for me. Sure. I don't know that it works for everybody, but it works for me. So I just like being around the big red truck. Me too. Does the Fire Academy do anything for awareness and PTSD for the recruits.
Yeah, there's a whole section on wellness where we talk about those things, and yeah, one of them is about PTSD,
Right.
and that it's okay to ask for help, and that they're not the only person that's ever gone through that before. You're gonna see something in this job that doesn't sit well with you.
Right.
We see things that most people aren't supposed to see.
Oh, absolutely.
And don't see.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, and let them know that it's okay to ask for help. That's huge.
And it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, that's good.
It's okay.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I'm
And
with you, brother.
I'm glad that people are saying that now. I mean, that's the push, like to tell guys and girls, like, hey, look, you have to come back and say, this is bothering you,
Yes.
right? Because in years past, we kind of just bottled it up and
Yeah, suck
went
it
about,
up.
went about it.
Yeah.
And then you know what happens. Eventually, it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So we try to
For some people, it doesn't.
Yeah, we try to avoid that at all costs. So, any memorable incidents for you? Something that really sticks out? Something you're super proud of throughout your career?
Probably the thing that's most impactful on me is not really fire marshal related, but when I was in Stafford, we did the Oceans of Love food delivery to a couple families, and when we went to Tyler Berg's house,
Okay.
there was something about him and about that family that touched me personally. I got to know the family really well. Obviously, the fire department. You belong to Stafford now.
Right.
The 25 truck is Tyler's truck. We got to know Tyler pretty well. We spent Christmas morning at Hazelton dressed up as Santa Claus, and a bunch of us chipped in and bought gifts for the family.
Oh, that's nice.
We made sure that the parents and the and the aunt and the grandmother, we made sure that we got them something because of all the time and effort that they were putting in, to their family.
Sure.
And we got the kids, I think they were PlayStation portables or something we bought for the kids. That all came out of our pocket. The members chose to do that. And we took Tyler's truck over to the house, and we planned on probably spending about 10 or 15 minutes was really the intent. And I think we were there for 3 or 4 hours on Christmas Day.
I always say this, man, and I probably get picked on, but if we haven't figured anything out, man, we got that figured out, right? We get that. We do.
Listen, one of the recruits, I think, outside said it before to you that we're the community hub kind of thing. And I think in some towns, the firehouse still is that.
Oh, absolutely. What if no one knows what to do? Who do they call? They call the fire department.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the Tyler was it was touching to me. I think that made me it made me respect my son and probably. It's not that I didn't love my son. Don't get me wrong.
Right. Just cherish.
But
it
made me appreciate the time that I spend with my son.
Right. Because in an instant,
it makes me spend additional time with my son, and that's huge.
So Tyler gave you that gift.
Yeah. And I also got to understand what Christmas was all about again, in my mind anyway. That was one of the coolest days ever. Just telling jokes and hanging out with their family and stuff,
Yeah.
and then going home to our family. If you didn't appreciate going home and spending time with your family after that day, yeah, and I'm still tight with the family, not as tight as we were then, but those were that was probably my greatest experience, honestly, was getting to know and listen, I told the family, at a time when you know that one of your children isn't going to be with you forever, and I can't even begin to fathom.
Me neither. Me
that.
neither. No.
My gut tells me that I would want to spend as much time with my child without anybody else around. And these people open their doors and let total strangers in to hang out with them on a regular basis. That made them a little special to me.
Sure.
I'm not a religious person by any means. I have my own beliefs. I think Tyler was probably put here to open our eyes to a couple things. And he clearly did for me, and I know for a bunch of other people. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. That was probably one of my best fire service experience.
And the fire service is what brought that to you.
Absolutely, and Oceans of Love. If it wasn't for them saying,
amazing
"Hey,
organization,
let's ask the fire departments to deliver this instead
awesome.
of us,"
right?
I wouldn't have gotten that gift. So that's I have a special place in my heart for Oceans of Love. I really do. They do some freaking cool stuff.
Yeah.
They're good people.
And all for the right reasons, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Hey, Chief, I really enjoyed talking to you, man. This was a good time.
I enjoyed spending time with you, man.
And
I loved what you did outside with the recruits.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for spending the day here, man. It was very cool.
I enjoyed it, and believe me, and Ray had just as much fun, and getting to talk to the recruits is something I've never done that before on this show.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be neat for our viewers to see kind of the perspective
Their
of the
perspective,
recruit, right? Because we never really did that before. So, and I got to tell you, they knocked it out of the park. You know.
Yeah, I got to watch a little bit of it.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
They knocked it out of the park. I was surprised. I thought they were going to be a little more reserved or set back, and they killed it. They did good.
I think they're at a point now that they're kind of coming into their own. They're starting to feel good about it now.
Right.
At least I hope they are. They better be.
No, they better be. Otherwise, they're going to be in trouble.
Absolutely, Frank.
Chief, thanks so much for coming on
Frank,
the show,
thank you, man. I appreciate
it very
thank
much,
you,
man.
brother.
There you go, man. This is episode 19 of PintheQ Podcast. Episode 20 is coming at you. You're not going to want to miss that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Again, thanks again, bro.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you to the Ocean County Fire Academy for allowing us to be here today.
It's a pleasure.
I got to see Sonnefeld, right? That's always a pleasure, always an experience.
It's an experience.
Yeah.
Whether it was a pleasure or not, I don't know, but it was an experience.
It's always a pleasure and always an experience.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of fun, too, you know, getting to talk to him. And he was talking to Ray, off camera. And, I know he's enjoying the shit out of watching his son.
Yes, he is.
Growing up, being a firefighter. I mean, I remember Justin, honestly, I remember him this big in little turnout coat, following his dad around.
Coming here on practical days and with his fake turnout gear on. Yeah,
Yep.
I got some great pictures that I gave Jay and Nina from here.
And it's just cool that, to see him out there and then, he's looking at these recruits and he's helping them out. And I know in the back of his mind, he's like, thinking, this could be my kid.
Absolutely.
Watching these kids grow and do well. So it's really good stuff, man.
I got some great instructors that work with me. I really do. I couldn't ask for any better.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. All right, again, episode 20 coming at you. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. The website is www.pintheq.com. All right, stay safe, be careful, and look out for each other.